Welcome, everybody. It's another wonderful Monday night here on Chewin the BBQ Fat. Incredible night planned tonight. Bray, Warren County Pork Choppers here, and it's going to be an awesome show. Make sure you share the page, like the page, do whatever we got to do. Wes Garrett, welcome back to the show, my man. Good to see you. Sorry, now we got Donny Bray in the house. It's going to be a great show tonight. So go ahead and like the page. Do everything else you got to do. Let's get some people watching. Hey, Mike. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up Donnie. It's going to be, man, we were talking earlier. It's going to be a great show tonight. Hey, Donnie, how you doing?
Hey. Glad to be here.
You. Man, thank you so much for coming on. I know we were able to talk a little bit beforehand and get going. I am honored to have you on. Thank you for coming on. And everybody knows who you are, but please go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody here today.
I'm Donny Bray. I'm, I guess you'd say, head cook of Warren County Pork Choppers. So we've, me and Tracy, that makes it up most of the time, but it's a whole family event. There's a whole bunch of us when we get together. But glad to be here, man. Glad I've been, like I said before, I've been stalking you, watching your show. So enjoy it, enjoy the people, enjoy seeing people on there. So I'm honored that you asked me.
Man, we've had a lot of people here asking for you to come on for a long time, and I'm just proud that I was able to get you to come on, and you didn't even hesitate. So I do appreciate that, and I'm going to share this a little bit more, and then we were going to get rolling because, as you said, you got a lot to talk about. You're excited to have you on. I'm excited to have you on, and it's going to be a good night. What's up, James? All the way from Australia watching tonight. Thank you so much. One more here, and let's get rolling. But anyway, so Donnie, tell me what got you into barbecue.
Wow, man, that started a long time ago, and people that cook with me or cooked around me, they know my cousin Steve. We look a lot alike. He's a fabricator, and he built a pit that I used a long time ago. I still have it, called Old Tom. The reason why we call it Old Tom is he built it for my great uncle, and he didn't use it anymore, and it was sitting in a fence row. Gosh, this would have probably been 83, maybe something. I don't know, 70. But anyway, I got it out and started cooking with it. And I was just a kid, and I didn't have any money. And my uncle, he sold it to me for $500 on time, and I do hope I paid it off before he passed away. But I still got it. I wouldn't take anything for it. And to take a homemade offset stick cooker and learn how to burn a clean fire, it just prepares you for being a cook. I know that if you had a contest and you had to cook on an open fire, who could do it, who couldn't. And I think starting at all the way at the bottom just really prepares you from when you get all of the opportunities of cookers we have now. And
it's great.
Did my first competition in '89, one of those drunk fests, and the way that things went and bands and I think I come in second the very first time, and there was restaurants involved and things, and that when the announcement, and then you're young like I was, and young family, and the band's playing, and you're hearing your name, that just won't go away. That just gets better and better and better every time that happens. So the rest is history. Did a little bit of the NBN thing, just a little. That was a little wilder than me, I guess. So we really got settled in with the KCBS, and I like the blind judging and that kind of thing. And even though I do feel like I got a gift of gab, I don't know that I really like using it in competition. So not saying anything bad about that, but we did the first KCBS contest. We never looked back. This is home, and this is where we'll be.
That's awesome. So let's back up. Well, you told me beforehand you were into drag racing before you were into barbecue. Is that correct? Or racing?
Yeah, but the smoker went along too. So back in the starting in the late '80s, right about the time when I was doing that, National Muscle Car Association come up with something called the fastest street cars in America, and we'd go around from town to town. And at the time, there was no internet and things of that nature, no social media. So it was all about magazines. So you build pretty cars that go fast. You're getting all the Peterson Publishing books, the Hot Rod Magazine, Popular Hot Rodding, Super Chevy. And then you go from town to town promoting that. And that's how it used to happen before we had this social media. So I got hooked on that, drag racing as a very young kid, and then got hooked on it at that level, won the championship. You know, as far as notoriety, I guess in the last year that I decided to race, we was in 7 magazines on the cover of 2, and that's about as good as you could do, you know. And then all of a sudden one day my wife said, "Hey, I don't want to travel anymore." Well, and then but barbecue was going with us when we did that. We took this old Tom smoker that I still have, but we cooked for all of our friends, and we cook at the track, and we'd entertain like our whole class. That we'd all running against one another, but you'd party together at night. So we'd take our whole, I run a class called Super Street, and I'd cook for them, and we'd hang out, and you know, the camaraderie was there. And then when my wife said, "Hey, I'm just burnt out, you know, we traveled way too much. I won the championship, I sold," and you know, things was easy to sell because it was people thought that was what was winning, and that was part of it. But competition, the mindset of competition, what wins. And so anyway, it wasn't hard to pick barbecue up because we already was there. So really, I guess if you look at it, barbecue's first, drag racing, and now we still have cars, and barbecue's still here. So we ain't changed a lot, you know. It's just sometimes to try to use the competitive nature of it takes up a lot of your time, and you have to make choices which one you want to do.
Yeah, I've got a '69 Camaro that I need to get. Is mainly restored, but I got to get it going again. I haven't touched in probably 20 years, so I need to get back on my. It was my car that I had when I was in high school, and I got married, had kids, and I haven't had a chance to do anything with it. So I need to get back on that and have some fun with it. But
I just built my wife one. So
did you really?
Every nut and bolt. So
wow,
just a brand new car.
Maybe I need to send it up to you and let you work on it. You can Camaro, and then you can teach me how to cook barbecue.
Well, yeah, I'm all the above. I'm ready.
There you go. So let's get into barbecue. That's why everybody's excited about you being here. We were talking classes, and you were talking classes, and everything else. Give a little bit of history about what you've done in barbecue, because when I first got into barbecue, you were one of the main guys. You were traveling all over the country. You were cooking every weekend. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing back in 5-10 years ago, cooking barbecue, and then bring it today.
We was cooking about 40 weekends a year. You know, and the bad thing, it just sort of takes that. If you're gonna go for, you know, it didn't start out that way. It started out to where I cooked enough that I felt like I needed to go to the banquet. I went to the banquet and had an ever-loving ball. At that point in time, and going the first time that I went, I think I was 12th overall in points. And that fueled the fire even more. It's like, man, I love these people. I love how this is going. And one of the things I truly wanted, if I ever got back to trying to cook every weekend, if I had a goal to set, it'd be wear that ugly rib jacket, if they're still doing it. But you know, that's what just fueled the fire. I was with friends. I was with oh gosh, Barry Johnson and some of those, and they showed me about how you buy to get tickets, where they give away contests. And you know, I just left there higher than a kite. And when I left, man, I had a taste of blood in my mouth, and I knew that that's where I wanted to go, and I knew that I wanted more than 12th. I didn't. That's just. I did this cooking barbecue. I didn't do that with a mindset of competition. I did that on just sheer, this is what, you know, I think I need to do. And then I started putting effort into it. And, you know, the rest is history as far as, you know, where we went with that. I guess if there are people watching that didn't know about and has been, you know, we went from that and just kept improving the game, kept investing more time, more time. You know, that's the big deal. And you know, come in tied with Tim Grant in 13, and then I really got that taste of blood. And it's like, if I can tie him, and which I did end up becoming, and still am, very good friends with him. But he's from one side of this good nation, and I'm from the other. And then you got two people that's on top. And you see it all the time. And I think me and him put a really good show on that year. But when we met up, he come to Kentucky to kick my tail. We was trying for points, and he come to Owensboro, Kentucky, competition that I go to, and he come to show who's boss. And the newspaper was there, of course, the hometown boy. The newspaper made it there, and so he made some comments, you know, sort of like any good ribbing one another would do about how he was going to beat me and how this is going to happen. Well, what happened is the whole town or the state sort of got behind me. So they're all coming, Tim's here. And it was all like, you know, it's been like street fighting as kids or something. And so we're in our trailer, and the knock on the door. And maybe my youngest daughter, who was a teenager at the time, she answered. She goes, "It's Tim. He's at the door." You know, I wanted to crawl under the linoleum. It's like, oh my God, they done come right here to get me at the trailer. And it was him and Boyd. And I mean, from that moment on, it was, you know, it was a little bit, you know, a little friction there, just talking. And then I got scared, and I got up that morning praying to God, which I do every time before I cook. I say my prayer, and I think that's why I won Team of the Year. I think God just got tired of hearing me. Just here, I'm gonna give this to you. But that night, you know, I did. I probably threw some extra prayers in there, and got up and cooked. And I cooked a good, very good contest. And it was sort of, you know, through the calls was back and forth, and I won the contest. And it's like, oh my gosh! And I was just in tears because of the support I got from Kentucky. But nothing bad against Tim, because right now, today, I would call him one of my best friends, and we had a nice race, and I think we put on a good show. And, you know, obviously.
And that's Tim with True Bud, correct? Is that True Bud you're talking about?
Yeah, True Bud. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, then we met up again down at the, on the next year, it happened something similar to the same way. Let me back up a little bit more. We went to that same year when we tied in 13, the same year as I was just speaking of in Owensboro. At that tiebreaker ends up in Calhoun, Georgia. I think was the last contest at that time. And when Tim come, if he finished it all, he would have won. The only way I could have won Team of the Year would have been to win the contest. And so I didn't win the contest, obviously, as the record reflects. But, you know, it was just, then the next year, you know, I had to settle for this tie. And we went on and battled back and forth again on the next year. And by the grace of God, like I said, he got tired of hearing me, so I got it in 14. Then you know, you sort of lose that eye of the tiger after you ring the bell. Does that make sense? You know what's up there. If you're climbing a hill, if you're going to climb Mount Everest, and you fell down, you got back up, you didn't know what it looked like up there, but you fell down, you got up, you just keep on till you get up there. That's that drive that you got to have to win in competition barbecue. After you hit that, you need another goal pretty quick if you want to stay in it. I think that Travis Clark has done extremely well hanging on to that and winning those titles and hanging on to that drive and eye of the tiger. And, you know, after that, it was just pretty easy to, you know, time to regroup. And I was given barbecue time to get out of my life, and it ain't going nowhere. It doesn't look like.
No, I mean, and that's something that you were talking about before the show started. You're talking about the mindset that it takes to be a champion, right? Well, can you go into a little bit more what you were talking about, what it takes for you to go win a contest?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like, and it's something I talk about in my classes all the time. And I started out by looking everybody dead in the eye as much as I can and say, how deep inside of yourself are you willing to go to beat that man beside you? And to go into that a little bit, you think of a guy that, there might be some people out there that thought that getting his meat trimmed and keeping the beer cold was working hard at it. But you never know how much your competitor, when you throw that one little word in there, competition, that changes everything. Now it's just how deep, and I learned that from drag racing about how to do it and how to do it well I was taught that. How deep inside of yourself are you willing to go? And when I look at that in competition barbecue, and it's a person who is going for team of the year, we throw them terms out there, but it's like the plague putting it on. If you ever say, "Are you going for it? Are you going for it?" Well, my thoughts on that is to go. What I've got to do, or what anybody's got to do that, is to do it 7 days a week. You're going to have yourself set up. Now I did 6 days. I took Monday off, but you got to take every 6 days a week thinking. You just get down to buying ribs. You could say, well, I had a 180 in ribs, and I've seen when I bought these ribs, I had 3 ribs that had the marbling that was perfect. The next week, you're trying to reproduce that again, same temperature with the same amount of marbling, but then 2 different hogs. So now you're trying to do this with different animals and different, and so each week you got to take last week and apply it to this week, and then if it don't work, you've got to be really good on your feet to recover from that, plus be extremely lucky. So when you take all of that and you put it together and you do it for 20 or 30 weeks, and people wonder, man, you're on a roll. Well, I mean, yes, you're going to be on more of a roll than a man that cooks once every 4 weeks, but you do all of that, and then judging is nothing no more than an opinion. So now you got to do that with being able to not offend anybody. So now you got to be extremely lucky. So that's why I always said I can't be bold in anything I do. I got to hit in the middle, and I've got to be pleasing to everybody. And I could say I would snort blues hog. I love it. Everybody don't. So how can I put that on a judge and say, well, that's just blues hog? I mean, I love it. But you got to make it my saying that I say to myself every time: less is more. Less is more. The only flavor profile I need is sweet, heat, salt, and smoke. That's barbecue. That's me. Now all these products, I got to use them so that they don't take that away, but they enhance it. And in doing that, it's hard to put on a bunch of rub and then boil it off in a piece of foil and it come out tasting the same. So the other theory that I always had was the last thing I put on a piece of meat is the first thing that judge is going to put in his mouth. So in taking all of that and putting it together, makes it a little bit harder to beat the guy that's breaking it down that way. And then we talk temperature a little bit, and you say every piece of meat has a different temperature, tastes different. So, I don't care if you boil in a hot dog, and if you stop it before, if you took it till it about shriveled up, it tastes different than it did. And I happen to like hot dogs that way. But every piece of meat, chicken leg is the biggest one that does that and has a metamorphosis. I feel like it about, as hot as you can get it until it starts popping at 192 right in there. That's when that leg just really gives you a flavor that it doesn't need very much. And I can go on from muscle to muscle to meat, but that's the mindset that when I say, how deep are you willing to go inside yourself to beat the man next to you?
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody watching.
Too long of an answer?
Not at all. I'm sure everybody watching is like, oh yeah, continue going. Please do. That's one thing that you were talking about earlier. What you feel like made you a great cook was understanding you called yourself a country boy that, that took apart muscles of the deer and everything you killed, right? So break that, if you don't mind, if you want to, you don't have to. But what is about understanding the meat that because you're kind of getting into that right now of every meat is different and everything else. So if you want to explain a little bit what you were talking to me about understanding the meat and the muscle groups of each muscle and what it does different. You don't not I don't mean tell everything, but just a little bit, explain a little bit what you're talking about with the muscle groups, understanding the muscles.
Well, like I said, what brought me into that is being a avid hunter and and breaking muscles down to harvest the meat. Then cooking it's a different thing. But I guess to answer your question, and let's just talk brisket. And I love to cook brisket, and it's pretty easy to stay. Um, and this is my theory. There's a lot of good cooks listening to this, and nothing says I'm the sharpest crayon in the box, and that my way is the only way. I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you my thoughts that I feel any success I had. That's what this is what it's all about, and I'm not pulling any punches. But we'll talk about breaking down a brisket, and when with beef, when that temperature is rising and it gets to, let's just say, that 160 degrees and it's well done, well, it don't taste good. It doesn't have anything to give you. Its next step is what puts the flavor in it, and that's where the stall happens, and now you're melting the membrane that actually holds the muscle together. This membrane is what gets this cow up and down the hill, and that membrane has a great flavor. That's where everything it had ate went into this. This is the um, I think it's where everything's at. So you can't, it's too tough to eat it. So now what you got to do is melt that down to get the flavor and hold it together where it holds together. Plus it's still moist. And I think that's what, in breaking it down. And just like brisket talks to you. If you ask me, brisket has it's like a butterball turkey. How they got the thermometer, brisket's got the same thing. And in that, when you get it to that well done stage, there's no sense in even looking at it. I don't like looking at one when it's in the stall, but as I know it's coming out of the stall, and how I know that it's going to give me where I took all I can get from it is that moisture starts rising to the top of it. So when I open up a brisket, if it's still wet, and where I visualize where my turn in is, but yet I'm feeling a little bit of resistance. I'm feeling that membrane that I'm trying to break apart. So it's telling me what it needs. It's like that membrane's tough enough that I can feel it. Then that means it's going to be the texture. And the taste is not going to be there because I can feel it. And the moisture's coming to the top. So all I got to do is catch it right at the time. Let's just say I thought it needed 20 more minutes. I open it up, and right over here to the side, I'm starting to see a little bit of moisture go away. But right where my turn in is, it's all of a sudden I don't feel it anymore. And if I don't feel it, I've melted it, so I'm fixing to taste it. So that moisture coming to the top is telling you everything it needs to know. You just broke that muscle down, and you may have had a crappy brisket. I ain't saying every one of them's good, but when I look at one, I've done everything I can do with that, and that's what I mean about breaking the muscle down. I hope that answers the question the way that you wanted.
That's much better than I expected you to say, and that's awesome. I mean, guys, if anybody's listening, you need to be taking notes because you are hearing from the best, right? This is some of the tips that you're always asking about here on Chewin the BBQ Fat. We always get the best on, and here you go. He's giving out plenty of information for you to be writing down. So how long did it take you to figure all that out? Or is that something that you said you've been cooking as a kid? Is that something, how much different is competition barbecue for you than cooking at home, like just at home for your drag racing buddies?
I don't think it's any different. I think that same thing, we've been tenderizing meat with foil and taking poor cuts of meat and eating it as a kid and barbecuing with it and finding a way to make it edible. My first thing I cooked over open flame was a carp. We had a farm, and it was on the river, a nice river bottom farm. And I'd take an old H farm all tractor with a hoodoo wagon that my daddy built, throw fishing rods on it, go fishing. and cooked the carp with salt, you know. I don't know, still I think maybe one of the best fish you ever eat. But that was probably at 7, 8, 10 years old, you know, and then it just goes on and on. You're trying to figure out how can I do that? When I cook eggs, you know, if I cooked a scrambled egg, I don't like it cooked till it's dry. You know, I like to leave it a little runny. I could go on and on and on with everything that I cook and everything that I eat, you know, of breaking it down. And then, but that also tunes me in to keep me ready to cook good for family, cook good for my racing buddies or competition barbecue. The
Yeah,
thing with competition, there could be somebody there that does that a whole lot better, that understands it a whole lot more than you do. At home, you're going to be the queen of your double wide trailer there pretty quick.
that's right. So everybody watching, I'm going to give you all an opportunity. Please send in some comments, questions for Donnie. Y'all ask him. Y'all know that I'll ask him anything y'all ask. So go ahead and ask him while we got him on. See what we can go with. But my next question: what made you start doing classes? What got you to decide that? Because, and the reason I asked that question is I've heard multiple times that your classes are the best classes that people have ever taken. Right. So anytime we bring up who has the best class, your name has always come up. So what is it that made you want to do classes, and what do you do different, do you think?
Well, I think that it's another level of competition. What made me want to do it is other people was doing it. So what do you throw in there then? Competition. If somebody else is doing it, I want to do it the best that I can do. That don't mean it's the best over anybody else, but it's just another level of competition to say when we talk about tell all classes. You talk about all of that. It's like I've got to bring that together and put as much effort into that as I did cooking. And it was a deal where I told my wife, I said, I think I'm gonna give a class. She said, there ain't nobody gonna come to no class that there ain't nobody wants to hear nothing you got to say. And so Tori, my youngest daughter, has always been uh, the secretary of the choppers. If you say, she took care of everything. She took care of my students. She took care of answering questions, because I do have a day job that's overwhelmed me the last 4 or 5 years. But anyway, she put it on social media, and I mean, I think we got our first call in about 3 to 5 minutes, and then it filled up in a day or something. I don't know. So I told my wife, I said, well, there you go. Somebody wants to hear what I got to say. But
Somebody wants to hear.
I love to talk. I love to teach. We were just talking about me giving some of my apprentice electricians a class because we're struggling with the apprenticeship programs and that. And so she just ordered me books today. I'm going to start teaching my own people. But I love doing that. And I love talking, and I love sharing things that I've learned along the way of life. So then when the classes started happening, it was like, well, now what am I going to do? Everybody wants to come, and some people may partake in a adult beverage, and I don't want people to drive back to town. And well, I'll back up a little bit. I wire motels for a day job. That's what feeds my family, motels and apartment complexes. And we just wired 2 or 3 motels, and a friend of mine owns a motel, so we started putting people up into motels, and I was giving business to my buddy. Then it's like, I don't want anybody to drive that's even had a beer, so I bought an old school bus, and we started hauling them in the school bus. And the next thing you know, I mean, I went on about the 2nd or 3rd trip, you know, on the bus instead of staying in the classroom, because my daughter said, you're going to have, these people are having a ball. You need to come and see on this little short school bus. I mean, we got 60-year-old people acting like they're 13. So, you know, I got on the bus, and we're hooting and hollering, and the radio's going, and I don't know of anything I can do right now to have as much fun as I do putting on a class. So it just kept on and just grew into some of the people may be listening that was, we call it the blizzard class. We had probably the most snow in Bowling Green that we'd had. And I live in a holler. You know, when I say a holler, I mean a holler. So I put snow chains on this, and we got 16 inches of snow or something, which is unheard of for us. So I put snow chains on this school bus, and I'm going to drive it myself because I'm not going to put my daughter with all this snow. I can't get it out of the driveway. It still wouldn't come out. So we took 3 or 4 four-wheel drive trucks and started shuttling people from this motel. And I ain't never seen grown people's face when we pulled up. I mean, we're in brand new trucks. And I pulled up, and these people stick their head out, and their jaw just hits the ground. Where's the bus? I said, we can't get it out of the driveway. Well, we want to ride the bus. I'm sorry. We lost power that night. Of course, some electrician hit the standby generator. We kept going, never missed a lick. And some of those people still comment to me that the blizzard class was some of the best fun that they had. So our memories are just unbelievable. And what's that do? That puts you in a mood like, I want you people to succeed. Listen to me. I want you to succeed. You can do this. And I sometimes I just get right down to them like that, not take no for an answer, but all of a sudden we got a bond, we rode the bus together. So,
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
We love it.
So James Park out of Australia, I mentioned him earlier. He said he wants to know if you're related to Victor Bray of Team Bray Racing in Queensland, Australia.
I've heard of him, but no, I'm not. I don't think, but I know who he's talking about. Okay.
And then Cindy Robinson wants to know, she says she has eaten a roadkill wild hog at a family reunion. Ask him about that story.
Who was it?
Cindy Nicholas Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Wow. This could have been, there was 2 hogs out in the road, and Cousins was in front of us, and they didn't hit them, or maybe they hit one of them, or I don't forgot. Something happened where these hogs pinned us in the back of the pickup truck on the interstate. These, I don't know, the wild hogs, whatever they was, but anyway, we harvested these hogs and cooked them. So I guess I'm sure that's a story she was talking about.
Yeah, and they're probably some of the best hogs that people have ever had too. That's just one of those stories. Ryan Horace says the best thing is watching teams succeed that took your class.
Say that again.
They did classes and everything, and is that something that is gratifying for you as a teacher, watching your students do well?
Oh yes. A story, I guess everybody now knows Old Virginia Smoke. And I think he's a big man. We'll say it that way. And I believe he's the one that hugged me in the class. But anyway, we got to be really good friends. At World Food, we come in, and he ended up beating me with the getting to the final table. But anyway, where we first run into one another was over. I didn't cook in Virginia very much. I didn't go over there. That's some pretty hard hills to pull from here to there. And ended up cooking a contest that was in his hometown, and we come in first and second. It was a point thing, so thank God I come in first. But I was so proud of him to be second, and then he returned the favor and he beat me at World Food a few years later. But I mean, those stories go on and on. And
I'm sure you've got plenty. I'm sure you have a lot of stories of your students that have gone off and done well. So some people are starting to ask a bit more questions, and this is kind of something I wanted to get into. Larry Garland wants to know, what is your favorite wood combination? And I'll let you answer that. Then I'm going to ask you some other questions about smokers and stuff like that.
Man, I'm so country. I'm straight up hickory all the time. Straight up hickory. And and I'll burn it clean with the bark or whatever. I'll burn it anyway. I'm not the guy that says I got to have it trimmed down, just no bark. As long as you burn it clean. And there's all kinds of good wood out there, but I don't mix it up. I don't do anything. I got 5 ricks of hickory right now, and if I use a pellet cooker, I'd still have 5 ricks of hickory. And that's my wood.
So moving forward, you posted a picture on Facebook, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago, of an old hickory, and you said you were getting back at it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is it that you are, Paul Kelder, he just asked, what are you going to be cooking on moving forward? Are you cooking on the old hickory, or are you going to be, what will you be cooking on?
I'll be cooking on the old hickory. Um, that's I've had them for a long time. You know, cookers are, wow, that that's a, yeah, it's a hard thing to to justify what you want to cook with it. You know, I'm going to cook with what I feel like is the best that I can do. Um, but I had so much success with uh, backwoods, and I just got tired of the work I had to put into it. Um, I'm a very loyal person, and I got these old hickories, and right about that time, and you know, just a good person and friend is Randall Bowman, and he said in conversation, he said, "I'd like for you to try my cookers, my gravity feed," and you know, I didn't think anything about it, and next thing you know, there's one sitting there, you know, at a competition. You know, he never said anything, and I tried it, and I really liked, you know, how the gravity worked and that kind of thing. So um, that hit me just at the time when I was really wanting to do the old hickory thing. But because this man put so much faith in me, I thought, well, I've got to put this in front of that, and you know, I enjoyed cooking on it. But at the time when I decided I was going to sit back for a while, you know, I feel like that, you know, if you're going to start, it was my time to start with something I'd had for 10 years. And,
Mhm.
and so I just kept, when cooking at home and practicing, I just kept using the whole hickory, and I had two of them. I kept thinking I had to use two. And then when I finally got the old hickory down to where I could use one, now all of a sudden it's like being able to cook out of a suitcase. It's small, and the way that I do use a 2-rack system and how I can rotate. And I do have a Jambo too. You know, I do like sleeping a little bit more than what I would do with the Jambo. But I love it. It's beautiful and it cooks good. But right after, you know, cooking just for around home or practice or whatever you want to call it, it was like, you know, I think I've had the answer sitting in my shop for a long, long time. And it's not, you know, I don't have to add water. So anyway, that's where that come from. And David Knight's probably one of the finest men that Jesus ever stretched skin over. And you know, I can't wait to see what I can do with this cooker. Um, and I just feel like um, I can I can control it, the smoke, as good as I did with the backwoods. And a little example of when backwoods was doing really doing me good. I bought a party for just ribs, and Jackie Price sold it to me, brought it to me, and I won enough money. I think he brought it to me at one of the times down there in Cummins, Georgia, and I believe I won enough that weekend to pay for it with the ribs. So, um, you know, and that went on to be several years of some really fine cooking. And I was given a class and something I did with the ribs, because it was a water pan cooker, and how that, you know, color is something that you learn how to get when you're cooking with water. And I was telling the class, I said, look at these ribs, they're just about done. Watch this. I'm gonna put the color to them. Went on teaching the class. 10, 15 minutes later, opened it up, passed them around, and they couldn't believe it. It's sort of like painting them with an airbrush. But you know, that's what you and your smokers got to come together as one. And the backwoods did that for me. Um, I don't know. I just, there again, it was just time to change, you know, and old Hickory was in line, and so now all these years later, I'm
It's
gonna
time to go.
time to go.
It's time to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So Paul Kelder wants to know, what is going to be your first contest in 2021?
Well, we was going to Florida, and then we just got a message that it was postponed. So right now we're signed up, obviously, there for Breasttown Valley. As long as this COVID thing's controllable, that's where we'll be first. Um, I've got to be there Friday night for that seafood buffet.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it. That's good. We've signed up for it. It's gonna be a great. That's always a fun contest. Last year cooking it, it snowed on us, and on Saturday morning it was a lot of fun. Well, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing you there. We'll be there, and I'm sure Paul will be there too. It looks like there's quite a few people on there that'll be at that contest, so it'll be a fun one. And you'll be cooking on your old Hickory.
Oh, Hickory, yeah. And I'll be
Are
cooking
you?
outside. I won't be like, and I think that's something else that if there was any success, I'd like to give it to. And another thing I always like to teach is be comfortable. Um, but I ordered a new Intech trailer, and it'll do both. It'll do cars. Sleep 20, all of that. But I'll have the cooker outside, and it's just to sort of see where I want to be, and it's a trailer's a little too big for. It's not compared to some of these really nice uh, trailers that's out there now, real tall, where you can stand up in the bedroom. It's a tall trailer, but it looks like a race car trailer. But if people know me, most of them that I had, that's the way they look. So I'll be outside, so I'll be sort of not practicing what I preach about being comfortable. Um, but
You can still be comfortable outside. I've done that. You get it figured out. You. I mean, I don't know. I cook out of. I have a fifth wheel toy hauler that I cook out of, and it's. I mean, it's just what you get used to, right? I mean, that's what kind of what you're talking about when you cook 20 50 times. You just get used to it. You start rolling with it. But you'll be fine.
um, I think me and my cousin, him being a fabricator, we probably invented running stacks out of the inside of a trailer, cooking inside. And
Okay.
we did that with several trailers, and I do believe that the more comfortable you get, and uh, not to get all mind boggled and that kind of thing, then it just really helps when you're trying to break that muscle down the way I feel that you have to get the flavor that you want.
Right, right. So I believe you are the one that made the Friday night fish taco, fish fry, whatever, famous. It seems like. Is that something did you start that, the Friday night fish tacos or whatever?
I started the fish taco thing, and I pushed it real hard. And a lot of people don't even know what I was doing or why I was doing it. But as I admitted a minute ago, I think God gave me Team of the Year because all the praying I did about it. So, and I'm not no angel, but I'm a strong believer in something bigger than me. Let's say it that way. So anyway, we was coming from a contest, and how um, I don't know, something come on the radio, and I was listening to. It may have been something spiritual. It was on the radio, and I was just going to stop and say, "Well, I need to pay my respects here," or I just go right on to a music channel, whatever. And it was something come up about, uh, and it's just you and your wife. You got probably 6 or 8 or 10 hours to talk, trying to get home, and something was about why Catholics have fish on Friday. And that's when we started talking about, and I'm country Baptist, so you don't know a whole lot about everything else that's going on in the world, I guess, that what's happening right in your own neighborhood. But we talked about that's a sacrifice, you know, and what fish means to,
Mhm.
uh, and not picking nothing wrong with any of the denominations. But anyway, that's where it come from. And it's like, well, I'm gonna just start having fish on Friday, and I'm gonna sacrifice. And all I ask for and all I'm giving back, at least I can do this on Friday that I'm going to sacrifice. Now, that's what I did. So the fish tacos made it fun, but I didn't eat red meat on Friday. Jackie Price, I shared that story with him. He did the same thing, and it was like, but anyway, so now it's fish tacos. We're over where we're at, somewhere different town every Friday, go find a fish taco, and it become fun, and people just see pictures of them. and I'm not going to push anything down anybody's throat, but I took what I feel was fun in a sacrifice of my own and shared it with people.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. That that takes that to a whole nother level of why you do it, and that's respectful. That's pretty cool. I mean, I love that. That's something that we could look at doing on a Friday night. Because you know we all need God, especially in these days. We need Him, and I'm not afraid to say that. So, um, but that's awesome. That's really cool to see how that came about. I always thought it was just something I like to do. Now there's more meaning behind that story, and that's pretty awesome.
Well,
What else? What other traditions or rituals do you have that you like to do at a contest?
wow. All right. You asked for it. I'm just
Hold
getting
on,
out my
everybody.
pocket. Gotta keep it clean here. Can you see that?
Here we go.
That's
Yeah.
a wingnut. That's a lucky wingnut. And
Oh,
that's
start over. You're kind of breaking up. I couldn't hear what you had to say. So start over.
this is a lucky wingnut.
Okay.
That come off of a truck when I was a kid. I bought a new 1978 pickup truck. And as old rednecks are, back in the day with a 4-barrel carburetor on a Chevrolet, you flip the breather upside down and it makes a big old noise under the hood when you get after it. So I flipped it over and put a 1/4 nut on that, and it being a new truck, even though that wing nut's probably worth 15 cents, I put it in my pocket thinking, I don't need to let that get away because this is a new truck. So 43 years ago, it put it in my pocket and it didn't come out. And hopefully I won't ever lose it. Now, where that plays into barbecue, it's my lucky wingnut. And I had a pair of lucky shorts that I wore until the pockets wore out. And at a competition, and the first place that I had to do that was in Young Harris, I took that wingnut, put it on a piece of string and wore it like a necklace. Put it in I won that contest. So it's like, well, these are my lucky, quirky, lucky things. But I'm very, I feel that you got to put your heart into everything, and not that it's all about luck or I'm that superstitious, but I've tried hard not to lose that for 42 years. So it ain't going to hurt nothing to go to a barbecue contest.
There you go. So you're going to have that wingnut with you in 2021. So what are your aspirations for this year coming up in barbecue?
Well, I think as far as me, I would like to just see where the fun is. There's a lot of people that I love to see that's not cooking. So, and somewhat going to make new friends, and I don't know where it's going to take me. I'd like to do classes. I'd like to put on a couple of classes. I'd like to, and find time with everything else that's going on. But I'm really looking at having fun at that level. I'd like to, I don't know if I can go 40 weekends. I don't know if my wife would go 40 weekend. But every time I go, I just like to be, as I've seen in a movie one time, I want to be one of the faces. I want to be a contender. So I want to put a lot of effort. If I didn't cook as much, I want to put more effort into it where maybe I cook better and not as much. Some of the things it seemed like they even sort of moved the points around a little bit where they may have different classes or something. I thought I heard something like that. So I just want to get in there and see where that's at, where the competition level, where I hit in it is going to be. And then just make the decisions from there. But there's a few contests that I could go on and say I'm just not going to miss, and there's a few of those. And then anything.
Which ones are those?
I'm sorry?
Which ones are those?
Well, I really like I mentioned the Owensboro class where I got so much, or Owensboro competition, I got so much support from Kentucky and
Right.
Mumfordville and wow, I've always liked Sevierville and the places that sort of got a little bit of a theme and party with them, and then that you really need some of your old friends that you hang out with. But I don't know, I guess I'm anxious to go see. I feel like a first timer, So I want to go out there and I just want to have fun and I really want to put lots and lots and lots more effort into my. I got briskets that's been thawing. I'm trying to see how long I can age a Snake River. What's the most I can get out of that, And I used to, I used to do primes, and I could take them out 40 days, and so I'm playing with that kind of stuff right now. Not necessarily too much in trying for new sauces or new rubs. I know that there's a lot of people that might mix 8 or 10 together, and I'm not that guy. I just need that sweet heat, smoke, salt, and but I really want to play with that how I can break this meat down a little bit more. And so I'm practicing on that kind of stuff just so I don't look silly when I go out there.
You won't. I fully believe you will not. I do think there has been a change in barbecue. I think there has been there's new teams coming in and some are leaving, and I mean that's just the cycle of barbecue. And I think it's good. I think there's a lot of good teams cooking now. Um, I mean, there's a lot of classes out there. I took a class 2 weeks ago. Yeah, a week or so ago. I went out to Texas and did boomerangs class. And learned a lot about that. And getting basted, and Shake had theirs, and Heavy Smoke had one last weekend. So there's classes all over the place right now, and everybody's taking them, and everybody's getting good. Which I think only makes competition barbecue better. At the end of the day, everybody wants to go beat the best. And I think today, I feel it's hard to win today, right? Like there's so many good teams out there. Not that there hasn't always been good teams, but I feel like the people that are into it now are really into it. They're wanting to go get better. They're wanting to do this. They're wanting to be the Donny Brays. They're wanting to be the Travis Clarks. They're wanting to be the Boomer. That's what they want to do. They want to try and be the best. Now, the question is, as you said, are people willing to work and put that amount of time into it to get better? And that mindset that you were talking about earlier is what makes the best, and I think that's pretty obvious with what y'all are doing. So
yeah, I mean anybody get lucky on it could be your week, but when you're trying to do it week to week, that's when you really got to be consistent. Something that I really like to say, and it might hurt some people's feelings, but I really think that it took away from barbecue when they changed the point system of the max team and stuff like that. I feel like that, back in the day and how, 50 team contests, and bonus points and that kind of thing. I really think that, that set a goal for some people to hit the big contest, and I don't think it took away from any of the little ones. But I don't believe lowering the bar helped anybody get over it anymore. And that's my opinion. And everybody has one, but I'd like to see that old, some big contests where if you're going for points, you can go get rewarded if you can win. And because when you get into that mindset, and I think some people that thought that, that they think we got it easy on this side of the world. So I ain't saying where the other side of the world is. I ain't saying that. But I'm saying I've heard a lot of people think it's easy to cook over here. And you get all of these contests where you got 50, 75, 100 teams, and you could hit that max point thing. And they thought that was that we had an advantage on this side of the world. And I think when I say that, I've always felt that the eastern side, if you don't go too far east, you don't want to go too far north and east, you get things handed to you there. But running up and down, Georgia and Tennessee and Florida and Ohio and Kentucky and all of that, a lot of people felt like back in those times that we had an advantage. Now, I say the disadvantage to when they, tiebreakers like I've seen is if you win a 15 person contest, but it still counts as a win. You could have 15 grand in a year, 18 grand, but some of them really wouldn't even matter, but you could get as many points by not going to as many. That's what I'd like to see barbecue, where everybody didn't have to sell the farm to do it. And, maybe, I'd like to see 20 contests be like 40 used to be. Give me some more points. And if I'm good enough to beat 100 people, then let me have my points. And maybe be able to do it and still do something else too, and not, 30, 40. I mean, it gets hard. I mean, and truly, it's about the only way if you want to be number one. Now, I don't know about this year. It seemed like when I was keeping up just a little bit with points, there was some pretty weird stuff going on. Somebody be up there with only 2 or 3 grands, or I was hearing some things, and it's like, man, that doesn't sound right. But it's COVID. I understand that, but I'd like to see it where, people out west, that's hard to California people that can only get to 20. They need
Right.
they need a shot at team of the year. And for me, I would put my heart and soul into it if I knew I could go to great big contests, get lucky and could compete, and only in point wise, and maybe only go 15, 18, 20 times a year. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't give my opinion, but that's sort of.
Please do.
I really feel like that everybody needs a shot at that. You need a shot at being able. I don't care if you're just going from category to category, being good at something. God's blessed me in a lot of ways. But I'm going to tell you, one of the grandest things you do is you walk into a place where you had never been, in a contest in a town you hadn't been to, and people whispering, "That's him, that's him." Well, I think everybody needs a chance to experience that, and that's that there's limits that everybody's not going to be able to. There's financial limits, and then there's time limits. And I know there's a lot trying to be done about that, but I don't know. It's a good feeling, and I'd like to spread the wealth a little bit if you could.
Well, I guarantee you, even like in February, when you show up to Brasstown, there's going to be some people saying, "There he is. He's back. Look out, guys. He's gonna." I mean, that's what it. I mean, and there's truth to that. I mean, there's a lot of people that there's some Brad getting basted, Tim Shear with shaking those guys when they show up, Boomerang when they show up, it's like, oh crap, Rooters and Tutors, Smoke Me Silly. I mean, it's like these guys when they show up, it's like, oh, we gotta go now. I mean, it's, and that's what it is neat to see. And somebody like for me that I don't get to cook that much, my goal is like, man, I want to see if I can beat these guys. I want to see if I can, see where I can stand up against the best, because you want to be the best. You want to beat the best at the end of the day. Let's see. Blaine Hunter says, what if they pre-selected 25 comps coast to coast and decided those are the pro team of the year comps, no exceptions? That would be interesting. That's something that, I think barbecue is good about. I think there's a lot of things that could happen. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be KCBS. That could be a whole nother deal that you've got. I mean, that's kind of cool right there. I like that idea, Blaine. That's pretty neat. Yeah. What do you think about that, Donnie?
I'm really for anything that would lower it, the time put into it down enough that I just think it'd be cool. I wouldn't want to single anything out to make it where me or anybody, one person, make it better for them. It's just the time that I think that once you get past the financial part of can I do this, then it's a time, and there's no sense in doing it if you're not cooking well, and not everybody's got it in them for this points thing. And there's so much of the time that I talk to people about points and reps. When I was going for team of the year, and you need a 50 point, you need a max team contest, and the reps wouldn't even understand. I never forget, I begged my way into North Carolina. What is his name? Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Big contest in the fall of the year, and I begged. They would always stay full, and I begged to get in there. Pulled every string that I could. Told them I didn't need power, water. I don't need nothing. Please let me cook. I'm trying for points. Well, I get there, and I did my very best, and I come in second. And I never forget gosh, I wish I could think of the rep's name. But anyway, the lady, she come and hugged me. She said, "I'm so glad you come and got what you needed." I said, "No, ma'am, I didn't get nothing. I didn't get anything because I had to have a max team grand. I didn't. The second was nothing. It didn't. Here, I got some nice trophies, and here's a little bit of cash. I see. I'm looking for another one, you know. And I don't know that everybody understands the points chase and how when you got max, when you're trying for that max team number. I really love it. You know, and just what anything like Blaine, anything that anybody wanted to put out there that would better that, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was for me what was neat this year, the points chase. It was a fun points chase this year. I mean, there was a lot of things going on. And I mean, to see from what Boomerang did in 19 to this year being anybody's game, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to keep up with because, like you said, there was a lot of teams that didn't have much. And then Brad comes in. I think he said he cooked 9 contests in the month of October. You know, cooking doubles, doing everything he could to get those contests in, and he got it, and he won. But it was a lot of fun to see. Gordon McCrae says he's messaged Donnie many times. He always takes time to talk and help with barbecue. Nathan Dexter, he says, come to Indiana, Donnie. I'll cook a conflict you were at just for old time's sake. Tom wants to know if you have any secrets you want to share.
Well, anybody ask me anything that you want, and I'll tell you, and I'll give you my best answer I can give you.
I hear you. I like the class system because not every team can cook 30 to 40 weekends per year. I always like competing against the best teams out there. Sun Seekers Barbecue back in the day. Yeah, I mean, and then Dan thinks he doesn't like that. He thinks it'd be too much of the financial backing to be able to compete. And I know both sides of it. I understand that there is a big major, you know, but you are also going for team. If you're, as you said before, if you're going for team of the year, it is going to be a financial hardship. It is going to be a time hardship. It is something that you're going to have to, I mean, you know, going into it, it's going to cost you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, right? Now you just hope that you get that money back, or some of it back in the winnings. But that, I mean, I agree. I mean, it is different. You've never cooked a double, Donnie?
Never cooked a double. Wife wouldn't do it.
Well, you just that you double. I don't know if you posted that or your wife posted it for you, but yeah. So Derek Johnson, he was part next to me at the last contest. He's a backyard cook. He got reserve grade. He says he can't wait. Do you have any advice on us first timers? So because I do believe that last contest we cooked in November, there was more first time cooks that I've seen in a contest in a long time. So what is something that you would give advice for a first time or beginner cook getting into competition barbecue?
First time cook, so organization. I mean, they need to start with that first of all, to where they understand and they got everything where they need it, so they don't get their cage rattled too much because they're going into something new. They're going to start flipping out if it doesn't come around. You know, stay calm, be patient, get all your tools together, and then understand your timelines the best that you can, and then know that they're not written in stone, so don't flip out. You know, give yourself plenty of time. That's what that Cambro's for. It don't hurt anything. Let them big meats get in there and sit there, and then work on your small meats that, you know, and, you know, doesn't, you know, you can maybe let the chicken if it had to go into Cambro, but just try not to get rattled. And you got to be, just like you hear people, musicians say, well, they missed something, but they just keep right on going, and most people wouldn't know. You need to do barbecue the same way. You might miss that beat, but don't get rattled. And I do myself. My wife would be the one that smacked me around and say, hey, calm down. You got this. You know, just think about it a little bit. Okay, it ain't going to be give to you this week. And just to understand that the more calm that you do, understand you're going to need a goal before you go. You're going to need, you know, I need to do this or that. You're going to need to know that kind of thing. And, you know, some people in first timers, they'll hear on a show or anything, somebody say, well, your brisket's got to cook to 203 degrees. And that don't matter. I remember years ago, and this is a good friend of mine now that's would come into a lot of success lately. He come by me at a competition and his head's all down. He's walking, to awards. And I said, what's the matter? He said, I meant to stop my brisket at 203 and it went to 204, and he just shaking his head. And I'm going, well, I don't matter. No matter what that number is. You cook it till it's done, but he got rattled, looking for something that didn't matter. So first time cooks, just calm down and just know that you got to cook that piece of meat till it's done. That's what the number is. That's what your thermopin ought to say. It's done. A number is just a reference to start from. So organization, and keep your head about you, and you'll be fine.
Right. I love that. It's perfect advice. I mean, that's one thing that everybody always talks to me is like, oh, it got to one, whatever. I'm like, who cares what the temperature is? Is as you were saying, you got to know how to break down that meat. You got the muscles. Every month there's different muscles. You got to know when it's done, right? And it's not a number.
If you're ever at a contest, you've seen a fat boy trying to do a cartwheel, because I got a brisket turned loose at 186 degrees. Because the less time you keep it in that harsh environment, the better. I want it to come around quick, but it doesn't matter what that number is. It's just when it's done, it's done, and understanding it's done. So yeah, that's in organization. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand how to sharpen knives. It's something as simple as that. And I myself want my knife the exact same sharpness every time when I cut. How can I tell if a rib is ready or done? The temperature's there, it feels good, but when I'm getting ready to cut it, I don't want to waste a lot of time. If I got this knife the exact same sharpness each time I cut that rib and I just throw it to the side, that dude ain't right. I ain't no sense in tasting it. There ain't no sense in doing it, because I know my knife don't lie. So just little things, that the secrets of success is all in having all your tools where you understand how to use them and how they benefit you. It isn't about just cutting. You got to cut the same way.
I think what you just said, somebody asked earlier, I think it was Tom Cleveland, asked for any advice. I mean, if there's advice, that is some of the best. That is probably advice that I've never heard of before. I mean, that makes so much sense just listening to you.
Come to my class. That's what we talk about.
I'd love to come to your class. I'm going to wait for you to have a class, and I will be there. Keith Edwards wants to know any advice for preparing for the stall on a brisket. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about right now. Is I think especially a lot of the first time, the early cooks, the people that haven't cooked a lot, they freak out when that meat just stays at 182 for 20, 30 minutes.
Here's my theory on the stall. The temperature's rising as long as there's moisture in there. Well done with that piece of meat is about 160 degrees. It's give you everything that it can give you. It's that gray piece of meat that you could probably make a saddle out of at that point in time. Now we're stalling. We can't get any temperature. It's not going to move up because we don't have any moisture. So until we start melting something, that's when we're going to get our moisture, and that temperature is going to start rising. As it starts rising, that's where that brisket gets moist on top, because that's coming, and that's the best flavor that's in that brisket, is that membrane. When you pull a brisket and you see all them little things in there, that's that membrane, and you're melting that, and that has such good flavor. That's grass fed versus grain fed. That's everything that you want is right there in that membrane, and that's where that's the money. If there was a money muscle in a brisket, that would be the money muscle. So what I like to do is know where that brisket stalls, so I don't fool with it. So like me, I put on at 3 a.m. and everybody knows me. I've got a weird number of 290 degrees, because years ago, that old Tom, that's where it just, I don't care if I put one stick of wood or 100 in it, it just cooked 290 degrees. So I just base my world on 290, and I have ever since, sort of like that Wingnut. So me, I go on at 3 a.m. and I know I want to wrap at 6. Well, at that point in time, that's usually around that. If most people wrap 150, 160, one right in there. So what's that mean? I'm going to go back to bed, or I'm going to go do something. I'm going to watch country music videos And I'm not thinking about the stall because I know that's what it's going to do. And I just looked at it. So that's why I like the 3 and 6 and then just let it stall. And I don't know nothing that's going on in there. Then I know that in about an hour and 45 minutes, I need to start looking. And, so then I don't, I can, at that point in time, I'll go ahead and judge at, how's this brisket doing, that 20 minutes, or did I look way too early? But I don't look in the stall, and I like wrapping at 160 because that's where it starts. And I know I don't have to look anymore for a while. Hopefully that answered his question.
I think it did. I do believe that was a very good answer. If Keith, if that didn't answer it, you need to go back and listen to that again because he talked a lot about. There's a lot in that you just said, so that's pretty cool. So you keep talking about classes, and you're hoping to do class again. Is there any classes that you have planned for 2021, or are you hoping to have some success and then go do a class?
Well, I don't think the success matters as much as the COVID. My son-in-law just tested positive today, and we have young twins in our family now that was preemies that are now 6 and 7 pounds, and we're just trying to stay away from that as possible. But what I think what everybody needs to do that's watching me on Facebook, send me a message if it's something you want, and you just send a message and say, hey, I'm free in May or whatever. Let me see the input of people that might want to do that, and we'll just do it and have fun with it. Maybe everybody, hopefully, from what the things that I like to teach, I don't think matters about the time. That hasn't changed since the first time I cooked, and I don't think it's ever going to change. It's still things that need to be done, and that's what I teach. And so input, if everybody wants to.
Well, I know I'll be at Young Harris, Georgia, Thursday night, Friday morning early. So I'd love to come chat with you.
And I'd love to tell you anything you want to know.
I hear you.
Again, I back it up to like I was telling you earlier. I don't mind giving away any secrets because it's sort of like the Tiger Woods. If I stole his golf clubs, I don't believe I'd get on the PGA with it. It isn't
Right.
about that. There's techniques. There's you got to do it. So I look at it. It's country people. They want you leave their house. They're trying to give you some cookies. They're trying to give you something. That's what country people do. We got to here, take this. What? Wait, you need this. And that's the way I feel about knowledge. Knowledge is a gift from God. And it's why couldn't you share that? Why would you not want to share that?
Right. I mean, that's a great attitude to have. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have that attitude, and I think you've been very successful in the more. I mean, and that's something that is showing. God's blessing you, and that's what it's all about. And the thing that's impressive to me is you've given God all the glory throughout this whole thing, throughout this interview. That I've heard you mention it multiple times, and that's what it's all about. So, but I think it's really good. And but it's been an awesome show tonight. Well, if anybody else has anything else they'd like to add, y'all please add. I've kept Donnie on way too long tonight. I know he'd love to talk all night, but hey, I'm sure his wife would like for him to come to be done tonight at some time soon. So, you got any more questions? Please hurry up and get them in. If not, I'm going to let Donnie go. This has been an amazing conversation tonight, and if you need, y'all probably need to go back and listen to it again because there's been a lot of little nuggets that has been told in this conversation that you could learn a lot from in this. So, is there anything else, Donnie, that you wanted to talk about tonight?
Well, I just any of my old buddies out there listening, come to Young Harris. Let's get back to cooking. Friday night. That was something that like talking about the reps a minute ago. I was talking about the reps that was there. We'd always break bread together on Friday night. I'd tell him he's my good luck charm and that kind of, just loving people like that. That's what I'm missing so much. And does everybody come on out there? And I hear they may have limited that to 30 teams or something. And
yeah, from what I understand, it's already full. The judges is full, and the cooks the teams are full. But if you want to get on the list, they said to sign up and get on the waiting list because I'm sure if anything's happened, people have dropped out, either COVID or whatever else, or there's something that, if you want to get on it, go ahead and get into get your name on the list, and there's an opportunity.
And for the new timers, barbecue ain't that expensive. There's a lot more things that I spend money on. It's something that if you're rewarded by getting some of it back. And, it was sort of said to me before, if you bought a $40,000 bass boat and you went and caught, a couple of big bass, you'd have a $300 an ounce fish sandwich, and that's sort of, everything's expensive. It's life. But barbecue gives back. So put your heart into it and you can get something out of it. But I spend way more money not barbecuing than I do barbecuing. It just seems like you can order something, you can set, and it's so easy to order things online now. You just, oh gosh, I just spent $500, or I just did this, and nothing's cheap. And I really feel that 6 months out of barbecue, I probably spent more than I did 5 years into barbecue. So it's not that bad. Everybody pull your big girl panties up and let's go barbecue.
I hear you. I mean, everything I do costs a lot of money, so it does. It's just another hobby, right? Another thing to spend money on and enjoy. But that's one thing. Barbecue is a family. There's a lot of friends out there, and a lot of y'all know Jeff Cole with Bees Knees Barbecue out of Alabama, and he is struggling mightily with COVID. And if you can go to his GoFundMe page, he's got something. Look into Brent Borland's got a lot of stuff on there, but if you can, think about him. Pray for Jeff. I know he's struggling. It seems like he might be. I don't know if he's making a turn or not, but I keep following that and seeing how he's doing. But anybody out there that knows Jeff, y'all be thinking and praying for him to see if he can't beat this terrible thing. But anyway, yeah, Snake River. So you cook the golds instead of the blacks for the Snake Rivers.
Yeah,
I just saw that.
As big as I can get.
What kind of pork do you cook?
I was hung up for a long time on something that's cheap, and people would, may not believe it, but I love Hormel pork. And that, it's enhanced, so a lot of people say, well, I don't want no meat that's enhanced. Well, it's probably going to make you, I don't think it's bad for you, but it probably make your babies be born naked or something. But I feel like it's cheating. If I can do anything where somebody stuck something in there and that would help it, and it's legal, then that's the piece of meat that I want.
So how does that compare to the Smithfield extra tenders?
Same, pretty close, I guess.
Comparable? Okay. Is that comparable? Would you say those are two comparable?
Yeah. Any of it that's enhanced with 10% salt water or whatever that, that they squirt in there, that's what I really like to go for.
There you go.
And then, because I like to buy multiples, I want it to be something affordable, because if I'm trimming meat and if it don't make the cut, it goes in the freezer and I give it to my neighbors uncooked. Here, y'all cook your butt. But don't never leave the house. And I trim my meat on Wednesday. And don't never leave the house unless you don't think that it's the very best thing that you could load in that trailer. And so I like buying meat that gives me a chance to buy 5 of them or 6 of them or whatever I needed to, so I could take 2 or 3 that would be perfect.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Well, good. Well, Blaine Hunter, that was great. I mean, I saw that. I think that y'all ended that really good. That's a great conversation, and there's a lot going on with you and Dan, which I'll talk about. I don't think either one's right or wrong or indifferent. It's just what make barbecue so fun, is having all the different conversations go along with everything. Don, if you want to go back here, you can watch those that comment, that thread. But anyway, well, Donnie, I do appreciate it. I've kept you way long tonight. I'm sorry for that, but thank you so much for coming on.
Enjoy talking about barbecue.
I do too, and I look forward to Brasstown. I'm gonna come hang out with you, see if we can chat a little bit. So much for coming on the show, because it's been a wonderful show, and a lot of I've learned a lot. I hope everybody else has, and hopefully I've gained a new friend in Donnie. So, is there any? Did you hear?
You.
Okay, I said, thank you so much. Did you have any parting words that you wanted to tell tonight before we go?
Just it's a great hobby. Everybody stay safe, keep away from this virus, and I hope to see everybody out there again. I miss the people so much, and let's we created a good thing here. Don't let the bad overrule the good. Find the good in it and push it on, and let's have a good time.
I love it. Roll with it, everybody. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to seeing you. Guys, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, I don't know if I lost you. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Just message me on Facebook, Messenger, anything like that. I'll have Tori to start trying to keep an eye on it, and then we'll have conversations. And what she usually does for a class like that is she'll get people's opinion of, before we have a date, depending on how many people message her, we'll get people's opinion and try to hit close to something that averages it out.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, Donnie, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Everybody have a great night. Next week on Chewin the BBQ Fat, we've got some guys running for the KCBS board that want to get on here and talk about what they're trying to do and I told them I would let them come on and talk about it. So look forward to next week talking with Jason and his friends. So it's going to be a great Jason and I think another Jason. I don't know. But it's going to be a good night show next week. And come back and see us next week on Chewin the BBQ Fat, guys. Y'all have a great night, and we will see you soon. Donnie, you can hold on one second.